Hello and welcome to the fourth part of the 2019 ITN webinar. My name is Geraldine Canny. I'm National Contact Point for Mary Skladowska Curie Actions, located at the IUA and operating in partnership with the Irish Research Council. In this part of the webinar, I will go through the implementation section and provide details about part B2. The purpose of this slide is again to reiterate that this webinar constitutes one of a suite of supports that the Office is providing for the 2019 ITN call. Here you can see that implementation is awarded a weighting of 20%. It is important to address all the different subheadings in this section and to take care, as this year a notable feature is that a Gantt chart is no longer necessary. Coherence and clarity and linking with the rest of the proposal with respect to showing the cohesiveness and feasibility of the project is very important. Now for the coherence and effectiveness of the work plan. The required subheadings are that Table 3.1a must be used to describe the work packages. It is typical to include 3 to 4 work packages, matching the description very closely in section 1.1. The non-research work packages must also be included, such as management work package, training work package, dissemination, exploitation, communication and public engagement work package. Break down each work package into several tasks. 3 to 6 is typical. Use organisation short names from the participants table to indicate which organisations are responsible for each task. In terms of feasibility, coherence and timeliness, it's very important to clearly indicate the timelines involved for the tasks in months elapsed from the start of the project. Do carefully ensure a coherent proposal, as a lack of coherence will result in the loss of points. The details here must match the details given elsewhere in the application. Deliverables should be listed detailed in Table 3.1b. A deliverable is a distinct output of the project, meaningful in terms of the project's overall objectives, and can, for example, constitute a journal publication, a report, a document, a technical diagram, a software, training content, conference proceedings, etc. These should be divided into scientific deliverables and the other management, training, recruitment and dissemination deliverables, etc. Specific deliverables have technical or scientific content specific to the action. Again, remember that the number of deliverables in any given work package must be reasonable and commensurate with the work package content. Note that the submission of these deliverables to the RIA will be a contractual obligation, therefore keep them feasible and to a minimum. Table 3.1 milestones. Milestones are vital control points in the project that help to chart progress. Milestones may correspond to the completion of a key deliverable, allowing the next phase of the work to begin. 6 to 8 major research and non-research milestones, for example, for the latter, the recruitment of all ESRs would be an example, are sufficient. There should be more deliverables than milestones. Individual research projects for each ESR should be entered in Table 3.1d. Typically, each table should take half a page, and you should provide as much detail about the project as possible, including details of tasks and methods. Please note that the evaluators look very closely at the individual projects, and if applicable and relevant, linkages between them should also be included. An appropriate degree of interdependency between the individual projects will support the cohesiveness of the programme. However, it should also be taken into account that the mitigation and contingency plans of the related risks should be taken into account and planned for, and should be detailed in 3.2. Again, in all of these sections, the proposal should be characterised by clarity and consistency. Now for the management section. In writing this, excerpts from the Erasmus Mundus Handbook of Excellence in Doctoral Training, such as that shown here, should be taken into account, ensuring that participants can work together to provide coherent and comprehensive support for the programme in the areas of management, finance and administrative support. The partnership should be should be formalized through a consortium agreement, and it is important to understand prior to that how IPR issues will be dealt with, foreground, background IP, etc., if applicable. ESRs will be provided with an employment contract. This, of course, is consistent with the Charter and Code. When all is in place, we will market the programme professionally. The programme should be managed via a series of gender-balanced committees. It is important to note that the Supervisory Board constitutes the main decision-making body. All beneficiaries and POs should be represented on this board, plus a rotating ESR representative. This slide shows a suggested management structure where the different committees feed into the supervisory board, and the project management team constitutes the coordinator and a program and or project manager normally. Please note that the management structure should be adapted to the consortium in question. Now for management, use the subheadings provided. Again, the Erasmus Mundus document chapter 4 should be utilised to assist in writing this section. Other matters that should be added in are a strategy for dealing with scientific misconduct, network organisation and management structure to explain the decision-making processes, for example, that majority rules, and a conflict resolution strategy. Additionally, progress monitoring and evaluation of individual projects should be implemented. Here, link back to section 1.3 where supervision was described. Focus on timings and structures here. As you saw from the previous slide, individual supervisory committees feedback into the oversight committee. Consult our handbook for further details. Additional items to add include risk management. Do include the research risks and the project management risks, as well as the mitigation or contingency plans for both, using the table provided here. With regard to recruitment, centralised recruitment is best. Describe the application process, the applicant requirements, and the decision-making process. Use the Your Access Jobs portal to advertise. Employment conditions should be explained, keeping in mind that under this scheme, employment contracts for ESRs are mandatory. The overall quality assurance should also be described, whereby an external review or monitoring of the ITN by an independent panel or external advisory group should be carried out. A regular communication strategy is important in order to keep the consortium and the ESRs in regular contact, and this can be done via social media, email, or web-based, as well as by face-to-face meetings. Again, gender should be addressed, explaining how the consortium is gender balanced and how you will ensure that a mix of female and male ESRs are recruited. IPR management, how have you decided to allocate IP in the consortium? Do involve the TTO here. Finally, a data management plan should be included if you're not opting out of the open data pilot. Specifically for EJDs or EIDs, there should be a joint governing structure. Here, describe the structures that will be put in place to oversee the doctorate programme and to ensure quality control, making sure that the various administrative units across the participant organisations with responsibility for doctorate programmes are working in a coherent and coordinated manner. The Doctoral Studies Committee and the management structure could include a representative from the Graduate Studies Office or equivalent. One issue that must be specifically addressed is that of mutual recognition. It is important that research training done at participant A is recognised by participant B for the purposes of earning a doctoral degree. Continuing on, joint admission, selection, supervision, monitoring and assessment procedures should be described. Admission, selection, supervision, monitoring and assessment should be coherent across the consortium. As far as possible, the same procedures should be applied to each ESR. For example, in terms of monitoring, if University A requires a yearly report and University B requires a quarterly report, will the ESR have to do both? For example, in terms of assessment, University A does a closed viva voce, whereas University B does an open thesis defence. In the case of a joint or double degree, must the ESR do both? This must be coherent and clearly described. Now for infrastructure. The aim in this section is to explain who is doing what and to show that they have the infrastructure necessary to do so. and that they are indeed very well placed to do this type of research and training program. Section 5 will include a capacities table for each participant. This section should complement Section 5, not duplicate it. Here you should describe how the consortium has the necessary infrastructure, both research and administrative, to implement all aspects of the programme: research, training, administration, communications, exploitation, etc. Describe how the consortium provides an excellent environment for hosting and supporting the ESRs. Have the organisation endorsed the Charter and Code, for example? If yes, do state this, and a list can be found at this link. Have the organisations earned the HR Excellence in Research logo? Again, if this is the case, say so and include the logo in the capacities table. A list of such organisations can be found at this link. Athena Swan Awards, etc. should also be mentioned here. Is a one-stop shop, centralised reports on issues related to mobility, including immigration and for Ireland hosting agreements, etc. There is a website for each European country, and it's linked to the central EU Access site with a jobs portal, a CV database, and also where practical advice on moving, etc. is provided. Most Irish higher education institutions are your Access local contact points, and this should be mentioned in the proposal. Now, having clearly detailed the infrastructure and that that's available, here you should explain how the consortium are the best people to implement this programme, including details about complementarities or synergies between all participants and how these will be exploited to deliver an excellent, top-class and bespoke research and training programme. A diagram or table can be effectively used here. Also outline how their previous experience makes them suitable for their tasks in this ITN. Outline the commitment of each participant by showing that they are all highly active in the project, referring to earlier sections, again ensuring a cohesive and coherent proposal overall. It is important to highlight strong non-academic sector involvement again here. For partner organisations, ensure that the content of their letter of commitment precisely matches their stated tasks in this programme. If you have a beneficiary from a country which cannot automatically obtain funding under Horizon 2020, it is important to explain why they are necessary to this consortium in order to justify this to the evaluators. Please note at this point that there is an EID specific requirement. You must complete a table indicating for each fellow the time spent in the academic and non-academic sectors, whereby it's 50% minimum, and the time spent on secondment in partner organisations, which cannot exceed 30% of the total training time. This must be done for EIDs. Now for the capacities tables. These are actually very important as they're taken into account in many evaluation sub-criteria. Do include the HR logo for any awardees. Include the percentage time commitment for all PIs. Ensure that it's clear that the non-academic PIs are very strong in terms of their research outputs, expertise, entrepreneurial capacity, patenting, etc. Make sure all the beneficiaries have independent premises. This is relevant, for example, to startups and spin-outs and will be evaluated should the project be awarded. It is very important to show both operational and financial capacity, which will be examined should the proposal be successful. Do list all individual supervisors' expertise and metrics, giving the necessary data as well as technical details of key infrastructure, etc. All research activities in Horizon 2020 must respect fundamental ethics principles. To assist with preparing this section, please consult the H2020 How to Complete Your Ethics Self-Assessment Guide found at this link. Finally, for the letters of commitment, partner organisations must provide this letter for all ITNs. The content is important and should be consistent with the information contained in the proposal. Generic letters are therefore not useful. These letters must contain specifics about the role and participation of partner organisations and the tasks allocated and their commitment to do so. For EJDs only, beneficiaries must provide an LOC. Do use the template provided. This letter must be provided by all the academic beneficiaries that will award the doctoral degrees and must be signed by a person authorised to commit the beneficiary to this joint degree programme, for example, the Dean of Graduate Studies. We have now come to the end of the 2019 ITN webinar. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this webinar has been of use to you. For Irish applicants, I would reiterate that you can send queries to the Marie Curie email address and we will endeavour to respond as soon as possible. I wish you the best of luck with your application.